Hello, this is Colorful Foresight, where we intuitively connect from within. I have my guest Shari H, Voices from the Swamp. We've been into, I would say, into the metaphysics for a very long time, decades. But until recently, we were feeling more comfortable to show
Right.
up.
Yeah, I can go back in my memory and remember things at the age of 4 and 5. Like I said, I used to hear an audible voice, think Darth Vader. That was the voice I heard before Darth Vader ever existed. Uh, but it was that kind of a deep male bass voice, very resonant, very soothing. And he would just talk to me and I would talk back to him, and family would walk in the room and be like, "Who are you talking to?" And I'd say, "God." They'd say, "Okay." And that was it. It just, nobody ever questioned it or nobody ever teased me about it. It just, that's what it was. And then after a while, the voice just went away or I quit listening. I don't know which. And then over the years, I would have different things happen. But when I got older, like up into my 20s, I kind of shoved it all in a closet and was like, I don't have time for this. And I was busy being married and raising a family and all that fun stuff. Back in the early 2000s, I started feeling like there was something more that I was missing, and I just couldn't put my finger on what it was. And I started getting back into listening to paranormal stuff because I've always been really into ghosts and all that kind of stuff. When you live with one, you kind of get interested. So I just kind of followed it along at that level. And there were psychics interspersed throughout the years, that would be guests on different people's shows. And every time I would listen to one or ask for a reading from one, it just felt right. And then, of course, my mom was real sick, and I spent 10 years, we spent taking care of her, and there was not a lot of time left over for anything else. But I would still listen to my paranormal shows on the internet. And then Mama passed, and about 6 months later is when the pandemic hit, and we got shut down. And so, here I was stuck at home, still grieving over the loss of my mom. Um, Thankful that at least I still had a job and was able to work every day, but I was just did it from home. And I went on YouTube one day to just see what I could see, and Diane from Diane's Tarot popped up on my feed, and I went, political tarot? I didn't know such a thing existed. So I clicked on it to watch, and I was just really floored. I was like, wow, I didn't know this even existed. And watching her led to watching others, and I slowly started watching all these different channels. I never chatted, I never said a word, I just watched. And then about 6 months into it, and I was watching a show that was still on. It's no longer on anymore, but it was called Nasty Women's Tarot Lounge. And it was Lisa Spiritual Tarot, and it was Sharon Strawberry Rhubarb Tarot. And they did the show together, and it was just whatever craziness popped up is what we talked about or what they would read on. And it was just fun. And the minute I put something in, I was like bombarded with people. Oh, welcome. We're so glad you finally decided to join us and talk. People who had seen my name in the participant list, but I never chatted. So nobody ever said anything, called me out, or anything like that. Once I stepped out and spoke up, then I found myself chatting in all the other live streams I would watch. And eventually, I was on one night again watching Lisa and Sharon, and Lisa made me a moderator. I'm like, what the hell is a moderator? What do I do? She's like, oh, you'll just, if you see a troll or something, you'll be able to get rid of them in the chat. I'm like, okay, fine. And I kept having people tell me, you're psychic, right? You're a medium, right? Why aren't you reading the cards you should be reading? I was like, no, I don't do that. They're like, no, you need to do this. And Angela from Cartomancy Mesquite messaged me one day and said, send me your address. And I'm like, why? And she says, I'm going to send you some cards. You need to start reading. I went, okay. And so she sent me 2 tarot decks. And I just started pulling cards with whoever I was watching. When they're drawing, I was drawing and just seeing if it was similar and trying to figure out how to read them. And it's still a learning process. I'm still learning how to do it. Um, but eventually it got to where more and more people were like, when are you going to start your channel? And so I finally bit the bullet and did it. And
I do remember you moderating, and eventually I saw you doing this. I'm like, oh, fine, good. I'm glad she started.
once I had my channel open and going, I did like a couple of short videos that I uploaded. But other than that, I didn't do anything because I didn't know how. I would go on other people's channels when they would invite me, but I didn't do anything on my own. And then finally it was like, okay, I need to bite the bullet. If I'm going to do this, I need to do it. And once I decided I was going to do it and I started preparing myself to go and read and everything, my guys, my brother and my son, they don't really believe any of this stuff, but they were like, hey, this is what you want to do, we're behind you 100%. And they put up the stuff so I could hang my walls and have my privacy. And my son made sure my computer was set up right. He upgraded a lot of the stuff in it, with better equipment. And so it's just been learning as I go ever since. So,
well, the good thing is you're having fun. You can tell you're having fun, because
that's
sometimes
the main
you can
thing.
tell that they're not having fun. You're like,
And when it stops being fun, I stop doing it. I've said that from the beginning. It's like, I'm doing it because I love what I'm doing. And the first time I stepped out, and it was on another person's channel, and just stepped out and went on air, it felt like coming home. It just felt right. I felt like this is what I'm supposed to be doing. And so it's just been going slow because I work full time.
You're getting more comfortable and you actually enjoy it. And I appreciate that, because first of all, now that I'm doing it's not hard, but it's more work than you think.
It's a lot of work. There's just so many little things that you have to deal with,
I know. I actually appreciate more. Like I appreciate more what others do in order
especially for some of them that really go all out and do like Autumn from Black and Orange. She's on every day. She's never missed a day, except I think once or twice. And that was back in the beginning when she first started and her cat got lost. And she spent those couple of days searching for her cat. And those were I think the only times she's ever not done a show. But she's been on every day since then.
And you know what? I mean, you could see her improvement too from beginning to now. And that,
when she started out, all you saw were hands. And that was it. She didn't show her face. Just the hands. And a lot of them started out that way.
That was Shari from Voices from a Swamp sharing her experiences coming into feeling comfortable showing this aspect to her. And here she is, like having her own YouTube channel. And as of January 23rd, 2023, she reached over 1,000 people. It's probably like 1,200 plus now. Congratulations to her and onto her journey. And one of the things that I learned from watching like Shari and them is that they used very little tools that they had, their personality, and then just went with it, So I tried to go on YouTube back in 2016, whatever, and I would utilize my friend Ambrosia, who does things on love and relationship. So my story is that when I look back, I've always had feelings, like certain feelings that was around me. I was afraid of it. Now, so my story is that when I look back, I got into the tarot. I'm trying to remember, like, they would have interesting local community channel. One of them was this woman who did tarot. And I would have this little black and white TV, like 1990, 91. And she'd do readings. And I would watch for hours. And then I went into Barnes Noble. and I discovered like, whoever the small session of New Age, whoever popular at the time, and I bought Oracle cards and then eventually tarot. And so it's been like you would think 30 years with tarot, but I stopped for a while, like good 10, 15 years. Oracle cards and then eventually tarot. And then going into the self-help industry in the early 2000s, healing, went to healers. Um, and then I've been going into spiritual group for the last 10 years or so. And then when we got the former guy that came in 2016, I stumbled into this reader in about 2017, Third Eye Champagne, who then led me to Linda G. And Linda G comments psychic. She did current event. And all she would do would validate a lot of feelings I was feeling. Whether she always obviously knew more, including the other intuitive. I would actually conjure if I could join her Instagram live to do readings into it because I felt guided. But she said yes. But I was like hiding, like, oh my God, am I ready? Blah, blah, blah. So the universe will find other ways for me to do it. So one day I was watching Shari H and she had a guest. And so I emailed her and we talked about this guest that she had. And before I know it, she's like, you want to come on? So I went on. And it was fun, but there was a lot of things that's like, oh my God, I need to improve on. I'm exploring a whole new realm that's very interesting. What do I want to do with this? Why do I want to do with this? And truth is, I've been wanting to write this book for like 10 years, been a little frustrated. In order to get there, my spirit guide have led me to do these videos, different channels even maybe, and it will lead to where you were supposed to write already. So the confidence coming somewhat. It's just process that we know. So if I could do it and all these other people could do it, you certainly can. So just do your best and get started. Don't overthink it. Just start. Don't try and correct things you don't like or try and minimize it. Because I did correct certain things. And I would love to see you share your journey about what you're doing with come out your spiritual closet, whatever that looks like.